welcome to Inside Berkley. I'm your host, Torri Mathis. Today I have a panel with me to talk about a big pass that we had in the city, marijuana. With me today is Dan Hill, our public policy assistant, John Staran, our city attorney, Erin Schlutow, our community development director, and Matt Baumgarten, our city manager. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Good. Okay, great. So what I kind of want to talk to you guys about today is just kind of give us a brief recap about how we got to where we are today with marijuana in Berkley.
Sure, I can talk a little bit about that. Really, this conversation began back in November of 18 when Berkley residents overwhelmingly supported Proposal 1, which was a statewide ballot initiative to legalize recreational or adult use marijuana in the state of Michigan. From there, locally, we began a process of talking to our residents to say, listen, do you still, not only did you support it statewide, but do you want to see marijuana come to Berkley? And overwhelmingly, 60% or so, the response was yes, and that sent us along the process of developing a policy to make that happen.
Okay, and Erin, can you kind of share the policy and the application process that you guys have been working on over the last year?
Yes, so typically when you want to open up a business in Berkley, there is a standard business license application. Given the nature of the marijuana business, we have developed an entirely new application and system for reviewing those applications and those properties. That application is available on our city website. We will be accepting them March 16th through March 30th. So we have a very narrow window of when those can be accepted as opposed to a typical business, but the applications will be weighed based on the property in question, if they have enough parking on site, if they cannot be located within 1,000 feet of a public or parochial school by state law. And then we've developed, the marijuana policy team, we've developed a multi-point merit system by which we can evaluate these properties and then the business applications themselves. And what it comes to is we've looked at things that are important to Berkley, things that are important to the residents. Do they have a sustainable business plan? Do they have, can they bring anything new or exciting to the site, redevelop a vacant or underutilized property? Those are the things that we wanted to encourage by this merit point system.
Great. And Dan, given that, you worked on the policy itself, can you talk about the types of marijuana businesses that will be accepted during this application process?
Yeah, so through a lot of the community conversations and through the discussion of council, it was discussed that the state offers a number of different uses, including cultivation, processing, and then the retail side for both medical and recreational or adult use of it, if you will. From there, council ultimately chose to lean more towards that starting point of the retail side. So we're going to be offering medical provisioning centers as well as the adult use retail. Anything past that we're not allowing in the city at this time. There's definitely potential in the future to have that conversation, but right now we're starting out slow and we're starting with those couple locations that are focused around just the retail aspects.
Okay, and John, can you kind of share with us from the legal point of view on the implementation of the zoning ordinance and then the policy creation and what that dynamic looks like in terms of the number of businesses that will be allowed per the marijuana business license application and all that goes into that?
Certainly. As the city manager mentioned, everything really traces back to the voters' approval of Proposal 1 back in November of 2018, and that proposal ultimately became known as the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. Under that act, it gives the communities the ability on a limited basis to allow not only medical marijuana, which was previously approved, but also recreational marijuana or adult use marijuana facilities. That act gives the municipalities the ability to either opt in or opt out and to determine how many and what types of marijuana businesses that it would like. The city of Berkley, through its city council, has held a series of public meetings, informational town meetings, presentations, you name it, really for more than a year now, and ultimately ended up adopting the ordinance that we're talking about today, which does permit up to 3 locations that could have either the medical marijuana provisioning centers or the recreational retail businesses. As I mentioned, the key there is 3 locations. I think that's a reflection of our council's recognition that this is something new. We're all learning as we go along. None of us fully know what all the implications and consequences will be, and also taking into account the size and makeup of our community. So we're starting out with 3. We'll see how it goes. This is something that will be visited for years to come by the current and future city councils, but we're starting now.
So, Erin, can you kind of share with me what the application process looks like for a potential business owner?
Yeah, so we will be accepting applications March 16th through March 30th. The applications will be submitted at City Hall between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. We're closed 1 to 2 p.m. for lunch every day. Those acceptance hours, 10 to 4, are critical. We will not accept any applications outside of that, so that way we can continue to maintain our service to the community outside of these marijuana business applications. We will be accepting 1 electronic copy and 1 hard copy, and those will be reviewed internally after the application period has ended on March 30th at 4 p.m. We are having an informational meeting on March 6th at the Public Safety Building. All of the information pertinent to that meeting is available online, and we encourage contractors, developers, property owners who are interested in submitting an application to come to that meeting, and we can answer specific questions that they have about how they fill out the application, the merit point system, questions
And
of that
residents
nature.
are open to come to those public meetings as well.
Of course,
Just curious.
always.
Yeah,
Of course.
So great. And so, Erin, you kind of touched on that a little bit about, the threshold and the application. Can someone elaborate a little bit more on that marijuana point system and what's expected of business applicants when they're going through this process?
Yeah, so as Erin indicated, we put together this evaluation system that council's ultimately approved by resolution. It equals 315 points. By no means is everybody going to get those 100%, but we're looking for a minimum threshold of 70%, and that's by ordinance. So they need to get that 221 points to move forward and being considered, and then from there, of the 315 points, those that get the most points will be the ones that move forward in the process.
Good. And so when will applicants be notified of their rankings and what that process looks like next?
We have built into our ordinance a minimum or a maximum 90 days after we have closed the application receiving deadline, which is March 30th. So by ordinance, we have 90 days to review all of these applications, score them accordingly, and then notify each applicant of their score. We have allowed us that amount of time because we expect a large number of these applications to come in, and we certainly do not want to sacrifice service to our residents, to our business owners, to our constituents. So we want to make sure that we have built in enough time to score them appropriately. If we get them done ahead of time, then we will certainly notify them when they're all done.
So I know, we're kind of getting to the weeds of it, but, kind of circling back to, our community itself and its residents and what that looks like, in terms of geographic districting. The state has its requirements, but, can we kind of expand on what that looks like for Berkley and what areas, are allowable and where these businesses could potentially be?
Sure. When we talked about this in regards to the zoning districts, we really made a concerted effort to open this up as much as possible, the exceptions being the office district and the Greenfield district. But there are areas all along 12 Mile, all along Woodward, all along 11 Mile, and all along Coolidge where we anticipate receiving applications for. And with the exception of some of the areas outside the DDA district, having a little bit of a point allotment on our merit system, those areas being 12 Mile between Coolidge and Woodward itself, and then 11 Mile. We really anticipate that we'll be receiving applications for most of our zoning districts.
Okay, that's awesome. And can you kind of touch a little bit more or explain a little bit more why, certain areas do get a little bit more of a point boost?
Yeah, so our DDA district, which is, as you probably know, 12 mile between Greenfield and Coolidge, and then down Coolidge between 11 and 12, already has a number of incentives for development. And the proof of that is when you drive down those streets, you see the most densely populated areas already. Where we haven't seen as much development is on 12 mile past Coolidge. Woodward, really, the face of Woodward hasn't changed in quite a while. And 11 mile has not seen a whole lot of investment, sort of has since a lot of those industrial spaces, those businesses moved elsewhere. So those are the areas that we're trying to incentivize a catalyst project in. And we think that we're going to see some really impressive applications for those spaces.
All right, and we're going to take a brief break. I think a lot of this is great information, and I know certainly our residents as well as those potential business owners are going to love this. So we'll be back in a short while. And we're back. Earlier before the break, I had spoke to their lovely panel here today about, the marijuana in Berkley, what that looks like, from an application process, and then moving into the zoning districts and what that looks like. Matt, can you kind of talk about a little bit on the public engagement? Will residents be notified once businesses move into the area, and kind of just share the details on what that looks like?
Certainly. Public engagement has been a common thread through this entire process, not only in the development of the policies itself, but also the Planning Commission and the Council both said repeatedly throughout this, in crafting these policies, that they want to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on step by step. So what that means for us is that we built in two significant opportunities for public engagement. During the site plan process would be the first of that. We're actually going to be noticing this like it's a public hearing, which we don't typically do during site plan. But we want to make sure that everybody that lives within a 300-foot radius gets actually mailed a letter saying that this is going to come before Planning Commission, and also with it going out on a website and through social media and things like that. So that's our first big opportunity for people to come and actually see what's being proposed. Like, put eyes on it, listen to the developer, hear what they have to say, and sit with the Planning Commission as they work through the site plan process. And then that's not the end of the process. Then it goes to City Council for the total local government approval. And at that point, we'll do that again. We'll have basically what will amount to a public hearing, but we'll have the opportunity for each and every person who wants to speak on this topic, either to show support over it or give any concerns that they might have. So we are going right through it with the residents hand in hand. So we're proud of that process.
No, and our favorite subject, which I'd love to share, is parking requirements. I think our community development director could give a little bit more detail about that and how that process is going to go and grow with the business itself.
Well, certainly. Parking is a big topic for the commercial corridors, the residents, certainly that abut those commercial areas. So the parking requirement for marijuana businesses, we're really modeling it off of a retail business. So it's one parking space per 225 square feet of usable floor area. Usable floor area is calculated as 70% of the total. So that would eliminate areas such as being used for mechanical equipment, restrooms, things of that nature. So the parking requirement has to be fulfilled. That's a pass-fail on this application process. There is no wiggle room. There are no variances. It's if you accommodate, you can move forward. If you can't, then you don't. We still do allow shared parking agreements with adjacent property owners, and any property located within 500 feet of a municipal parking lot is exempt from providing parking space on their specific site. That is ordinance, and that is applicable to any commercial property owner in the city.
It's good to know, and I think our residents will be appreciative of that. The other topic, I think that's big given the subject itself with marijuana is this bringing in revenue, and this being another stream for local municipalities, the state, or what have you, in terms of bringing in funds. Could the city attorney share with us the misinformation that, or accurate information about what the news outlets as well as our social forums or any congregations that have gone out to kind of dispel any of those rumors?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Among the strong points, if you will, or points in favor of the passage of the marijuana proposal back in 2018, even a selling point of it, was that the sale of the recreational marijuana would be taxed, and a portion of that tax would come back to the communities where these marijuana businesses are located. Now, how much will come back to the city of Berkeley is highly speculative at this point. I mean, it's based on a rather complicated formula, which is a function of how many marijuana businesses end up throughout the state and how much revenue they generate. So we don't really know. One thing we do know, though, is that it's not going to be a major funding source. It will contribute, but it's not going to pay for new services. It's not going to displace traditional funding sources that we are already receiving. And that's important to know, because that is not what has driven the decision of the city administration and the city council to consider allowing and licensing marijuana businesses. It's not because it's a cash cow. We don't expect it to be, but rather I think it's a decision that's attempting to reflect the composition of the community, the desire of the community as expressed through their votes and their public participation thus far.
Great. So, you kind of lead into the next question that I really have for the panel is, why should marijuana businesses or interested developers pick Berkeley as the place? It's a big topic right now, and, I know there's only a select few cities that have done it, but, why Berkeley?
Well, I think these businesses are going to be popular wherever they go. But if they pick Berkeley, they're picking a community that is incredibly supportive of this use. Again, like I said, over 70% voted in favor. And so it's a community that's really welcoming to this use. They're trying to very clearly destigmatize cannabis sales to people, and I think this is the best community to do that in this region. Couple that with the transparent application process that we've put together here, and I don't think a developer can go wrong by choosing Berkeley.
Right. Well, where can people, whether it's a resident, a business, or a developer, go to learn more information about, everything that we've talked about today?
Yeah, so anybody who's interested in getting more information can definitely head over to the website, www.berkleymich.org/marijuana. Marijuana specifically spelled with an H, such as the Michigan spelling in the law. And then those specifically that are looking to open a business, we definitely encourage them to head over to our developers meeting that's going to take place on the second floor of the Public Safety Building on March 6th, next Friday.
Great. Well, thank you guys all for your time today. This has been really informative, and I think, not whether you're a business or a resident, this is very helpful. And, we're looking forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course.
This has been Inside Berkeley, and we'll see you guys next time.